Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to the United press conference. Reaction from Ten Hag's press conference, which was pre-done last night after the Leicester game. So, buoyant mood. Plenty of questions asked. I think it looks like he was rushed through it, going off the noises from the United correspondents actually in the press conference. So, we're going to run through everything that's gone down, everything that he said, all the questions that were asked are the important ones anyway. There's a few things that people wanted clearing up that I think a lot of fans wanted clearing up from the media as well in there. So, let's just not. Sorry, someone just flashed up on my. Let me just mute the actual YouTube there. Sorry, guys, that was my fault. I've actually got the chat on a separate one here, so just bear with me a second. That's all sorted now. Sorry if I deafened anyone there, but yeah, right, okay. Press conference time. Well, straight after the Leicester game, you can imagine questions were immediately in terms of performance, everything like that. I think it was Laurie Whitwell who asked a question regarding how the team are actually improving. Have you seen any improvement in the team? Where are you looking at positives from the performances recently? I think he was getting at Laurie when he asked Ten Hag the question. And he went in on there is improvement there. He can see the improvement there. But ultimately, there is a lot more to do from Ten Hag. Well, from the United team that Ten Hag said. He's looking at improving the formation. And now, formation, I was there last night and I understood the shape. I understood the formation. If you watch my match reaction after the game outside the King Power, it was one of a bit of frustration, but also acknowledgement that we are still building. He always talks about, and he does it a lot in the press conferences, he talks about the foundation. He's got a base. He's working on the base. It does look like the bases are actually working. He's putting a solid foundation in there. If you make sure that everything is solid, I mean, this is the hard bit. Getting the players to work in a formation, be solid, be there for each other, build that foundation, like he said, strong base, and then you can add the flair to it. This is where they have to graft the players. This is where they have to learn. And this has to come as second nature. This is what I think this is how he's trying to put it across. This that we're doing now has to be second nature. Even when we actually evolve to the next stage, which there will be a next stage. We know how Ten Hag likes to play. There will be a stage where we actually go to a different level, where we actually start playing more elaborate football, where it starts looking a little bit more, it looks nicer on the eye, let's just say that. But you have to have that foundation. This is what I think he's trying to put. He's trying to imprint the fact that this should be embedded in your head constantly. So even after a certain segment of play or part of our game plan has been implemented, you'll always drop back to this as your foundation, which is the defending as a team. Because I think it was Andy Mitten who said, look, how are you assessing your defenders and the defensive performances collectively and individually at the moment? And he went into that. That was like a next step from that previous question in terms of how the team is in the shape, because he talked about formation in the first question, but then went into the defensive side. He didn't go into any individual player. It's becoming very clear that he's not one for the individual. There's a collective sort of appraisal or a breakdown from Erik Ten Hag every time he talks. And that's with a team working as one. He says, as a team, we are working well together. Wouldn't bring up an individual, like I said, but you can see it. You can see the improvement in certain players because he's got what I think is his base, his best defense. I think he's settled on what we've got now at the back. I think he's happy with it. And I think he feels like each one of them players within that back four, from what I can take from the interview, is from each one of them, they can actually improve off each other playing as a four like that. You've seen, there's that moment it's been highlighted, and the pictures, I'm sure the video's been sent out there all over social media, when Dalot makes the tackle on Leicester's left-hand side and it ricochets back, and Dalot celebrates it like he scored a goal. And Martinez is there, and that you can see that sort of rapport. You can see that togetherness within it. I mean, yeah, I'm one of them fans that's like, okay, yeah, it's a good tackle, settle down, let's get back in position, let's not get over the top. Yeah, I'd like that sort of celebration for maybe a goal being scored, or actually not standing there nervous for the last 3 quarters of the game, like it seemed like it has been the last 2 games. I'm not saying a win, I'm disheartened by a win or anything like that, but maybe go and get a second goal if you can, just to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's one of them. He's happy with how they're playing together, and I think that's the message that's coming across from Ten Hag, and that's the important message. He's happy with the defense as a whole, but then went into he's happy with the team defending as a whole. And I think that's what we've been doing better recently. We're making ourselves hard to beat and getting the wins. We've basically just gone solid mode and give nothing away and clawed our way from bottom of the league to 5th, 2 points behind Spurs. So it's effective. May not be pretty on the eye, but damn, it's working. It's got us back up there. Whether we can just build on that, it'd be interesting to see, because we're going to touch on what you said about the Arsenal game, building up to that. But it will be interesting to see if anything changes when we play at home to Arsenal, whether or not there's going to be a different approach when we're at home. Are we going to actually go out with a different mindset when we're at home? Because when we're away from home, it looks like one of, you will not beat us. And then we'll see what we can do on top of that. Can we score a goal on top of that? It looks like be solid, be stable, and then we will get that goal. I think it will help when we've got a few more options in terms of players, especially in that front line, because they weren't helping at all last night. Second half, I thought our front line was pretty poor, to be honest. I went in on them a little bit. I think the midfield and defence has been awesome, but the front line's giving them no protection. It's not holding onto the ball long enough. And, I mean, he really didn't get quizzed on that. He didn't get a chance to because it was rushed through, like I said, that press conference. But honestly, I do think that's where he's going with it. And I think he will just build that base and will make the team defend as one. And then we'll look to maybe bring Ten Hag ball in from there, because possession and the amount of shots and chances we're creating is very low for how Ten Hag is used to playing. So, like I said, he's gone back to basics. He's built that base and he's working on top of that. And that's where I think he's answered that question from Andy Mitten, because he just said, look, we're not going to talk individually. It's about collectively. It's all about the team with Ten Hag, which is good and which shows you that in the selections that he's made, dropping Maguire, dropping Ronaldo, that isn't a individual sort of look on things. Like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would look at, be like, one individual saved us and was playing well. We're getting a collective 8 and 9 players getting 7s and 8s out of 10 at the moment because we're playing as a team. I think that's how he wants it to come across. That's how I'm seeing it. We're getting steady 7s, which is probably the best way you can go forward. Rather than someone getting an 8 or a 9 and the rest being 4s and 5s, we're actually getting steady performances from a lot of players now. And that's from what Ten Hag's done. He's making everyone play the same way. So no one's going to be doing any particular different role. They've all got their individual roles, yes, but when you look at it, everyone's performing to the same level and working exactly the same, as hard as each other. So that's what I think he's come across there when he's asked about individual defenders. Defending collectively is where he wants to go with it as a team. And I'm all for it. A couple of super chats just come in. Zayn Miase. Zayn, obviously at Arsenal this weekend. Hope you're ready for this one, mate. Hope you're ready for it. I'm telling you. Ten Hag is shaking in his boots. Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli. Only City can stop us winning the league. That's Zayn. I'll let you guys comment on that, which, as I can see, you already have. Eunice has sent a super chat. Manchester United's board vetoed Eric Ten Hag's plans to sign Hakim Ziyech. I have no idea about that, mate, but cheers for the super chat anyway. Moving on to other topics from the press conference. Obviously, players that weren't playing were brought up. I think it was... who was it now who asked the question? I think it was Simon Peach asked the question regarding Martial not being there. Luke Shaw, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, any updates? He didn't go anywhere near Luke Shaw or Aaron Wan-Bissaka, completely shut them down and pretty much says everything you need to know. I think with Ten Hag, I think what you're going to get is when a question is asked, unless he knows everything and unless he knows the full ins and outs of what's going on, where that question has been or where that question is leading or what agenda it's going from, then you're just not going to get the answer that you want. He's just going to shut it down and move on to the next bit, which was Martial in this case. He isn't available again for the Arsenal game, which is a disappointment. But ultimately then, I can't remember anyone else asking the question, but I think Ronaldo and the way he played, he looked sharp when he came on last night. That should automatically bring the question, I think, of will you be looking to mix it up against Arsenal? Will you be looking to bring Ronaldo in up top? Because Rashford didn't hold the ball up well at all last night. I think he let us down in the second half. Great involvement in the goal. And yeah, there were some nice moments in that first half. But ultimately, the second half, we just didn't give enough protection to the midfield and defence because we couldn't hold on to the ball and create anything in the second half. And it wasn't good enough. So for me, I think more questions probably needed to be asked on that. They were touched on slightly because it was brought up in terms of how we're looking ahead to Arsenal and how is he going to select a team going forward, because with Arsenal, it's a different kettle of fish, obviously. And the question was asked, do you have a team for a Thursday? Do you have a team for a weekend now? Is it like two teams? He said, no, that's not an option. It is an option, but we're not looking at it that way. We're looking at the Arsenal game, and we will assess everybody this weekend and then pick the Arsenal team that we think best suits this game, which kind of makes me think we may see our first change from the last couple of games, because he's not changed the winning team. He's kept with it. He's kept McTominay in midfield. The question was asked regarding Casemiro being on the bench again. Will he now be coming in more to the games now we've got 2 games a week? It's the right question to ask, in my opinion, because obviously now this is the first time of the season when it's going to get a bit crazy with fixtures for all the teams in Europe. So I think we'll start seeing more of Casemiro, but he did say, look, it's not going to be straightforward, look, winning team was going to keep with it. It's one of, we're going to assess each team that we come up against each weekend or midweek, whichever it may be, and pick the best team for that. Because that led into Anthony obviously coming in on deadline day. The question was asked regarding Anthony, do you reckon he is ready to join the team? Is he ready to play? He answered it by saying he'd done his first individual training session. There's a couple more team training sessions coming up, and he will be assessed in them this weekend, along with the likes of everybody else in the squad. Casemiro, like he was questioned before on, in terms of will he suit this game in particular against Arsenal better than the games where he's not been starting, the Leicester and the Southampton. So when it comes down to it, what you can take from the press conference is it's a positive one, because questions now are being asked about who can play, who is going to come in, how are we looking at this game, how are we dissecting a win? The positive questions that are being asked by the press and the media at the moment. And that's something that a lot of fans are not used to. I mean, I spoke to fans at King Power last night, and the vibe is, it's just like, it feels like from a fan side of things that we've got something to hold on to again and get behind. That's how it's coming across. It feels like United are actually together and there's an understanding. They've sort of got that bond back with the players. And yes, it's totally different when you get a win. Everyone was saying, oh, the players came over. All the players came over. Even Ronaldo came over and clapped the fans. It's the easiest thing in the world to come over and take the plaudits when you've had a decent performance. And more importantly, you've got the 3 points. It's when it doesn't go well that we had a problem with it last season. It's when the team just forgot about the fans, when they put in a horrible performance. There was a lot of times that happened last season. And I think now the collective would be, it's like, it does feel like there is a willing to fight. There's a willing to fight for the shirt, and it's coming across on the pitch. There is a connection within the team on the pitch. There's an understanding definitely on the pitch, and that's down to Ten Hag and the way he's drilled this team. And there is an understanding that you are going to have to graft and you're going to have to work for your place in this team. We just spent 60 million on a Champions League winning midfielder who every single fan, pundit, ex-player, anyone watching from the outside has said that Manchester United have needed for nearly a decade, and he can't get in the team. So Ten Hag has set this mentality of, look, yeah, you are who you are, but you still have to obey and still have to play by the same rules that everybody else does at the football club. And that means that you don't come automatically into the team because of your name, where you've been, what you've won, what wage you're on. Does not matter one iota. It is about working hard and getting into the team through merit. And that's what comes across when they come on the pitch. It's like when Fred came on last night, he was like a little pit bull. He was just running around making a nuisance of himself, just trying to impress in that moment. And Ten Hag did touch on that in the press conference as well, because it's not about the team, he said. It's about the squad. It's more important about the squad than it is the team, because every player in the squad needs to be on board with the message. Otherwise, when they do come on and we do lose players through injury, which will happen through the season, these players have to be ready to go. And it looks like the players coming off the bench, like Ronaldo last night, changed the game. Fred came on and solidified, and Casemiro came on and absolutely just put another brick in an already rock-solid wall. Yeah, he made one error, I think it was, where he gave the ball away and Leicester nearly created a chance on the edge of the box, but I got everything else that he did I can only see when he starts games and he gets a bit more adapted to the speed of the game in England. I think he's going to be an absolute worldie for Manchester United. I do believe that we've got an absolute superstar. I knew it from the start, but you can tell when he plays. But look at what happened last night when I go in, and that's what Ten Hag says, and that's, I think, his main point from each press conference that I've watched so far has been like, look, it's a collective. He mentioned it in the way that the team is set up and the formation to the first question, to the last question about how he's going to adapt to Arsenal. It's a collective. It's a squad. It's every single man, every man in that squad. And we all know what Ten Hag is, and we all know how Ten Hag operates. We know that he is he's one of them types of manager that wants to know everything. He wants to know his diet, what everything is going on with each player, their diet, what they're doing, where they're going, who they're with. He wants to know absolutely everything. And he wants that for every single member of his squad, because he knows that this is a squad game, like I've said, and like he's been going on about every single press conference, that if you get your chance, you take your chance, you stay, and you make that chance work. You're not going to be just drafted out, say like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. It's like, oh, one of my favourite players is dead, I'm going to bring him in instead, even though you've played superb this week. It doesn't matter. Well, with Erik Ten Hag, the message is very, very clear, and every United fan can see it. And that's where the fans actually pick up on the actual message. They actually pick up on what he's planning and what he's doing, what the philosophy is. And then that relates to the players and the connection back with the fans and the players again. That's come from the top. That's come from Ten Hag. He needs to take every bit of credit, because let's be honest, he's got more out of this team, or the players that are still at this team, than any other manager has over the last 5 years. All his players, Ten Hag is getting more out of. Even Jose Mourinho's players is getting more out of. Everyone who's been here at this football club, Ten Hag has got more out of these players than anyone else. So you have to give him credit. Yeah, you can give as much credit to the players as you want, but let's not forget what these players were doing last year. They didn't want to know. If they didn't believe in something, they weren't putting the effort in. Now they do believe in this. And this is down to Ten Hag. This is down to what he's put in, what his imprint is. Yeah, he realised very early on this season that these players, there was something wrong within, and he's going to have to change something up. He changed it instantly. And like I said, we went from bottom of the league, 0 points, to 5th, like 2 points off Spurs, who were in 3rd. Just like that. 10 days, turned it around completely. And that was down to his chopping and changing and making things different, making it actually work for the squad that we've got. He did go into the game, I touched a little bit on it, in terms of Arteta and what he's done. He's big on the philosophy of Arteta. When asked the question about how he's preparing, he says he's been very impressed with Arsenal and the start of the season that they've had. And it goes into what his sort of mindset is in terms of how Arteta has come across. I don't know if it'd be from the All or Nothing video. I think they did make that out to make Arteta look like an absolute superstar, to be honest. But you can see it in his team. You can see that every one of Arteta's players are on board. They've got the message and they're all working as one. I think that's what Ten Hag appreciates and is trying to get out of this team. Now, we're lower, a lot lower than what Arsenal's players were, I think. Obviously, we're on a lot more money. Well, actually, I don't know. Arsenal players have probably paid well as well, but you know what I mean? They're on Brewster money. We've got a lot more big egos than what Arsenal have got. They managed to get rid of a few of theirs, but we've still got ours. We've still got the problems behind on the bench. Is Harry Maguire going to sit on the bench knowing that Gareth Southgate needs players to be playing? Is Luke Shaw going to be happy sat on the bench knowing that the World Cup is round the corner? Are all of these players that are sat on the bench going to be happy knowing that pretty much all the international managers are looking at playing time and players in form? That's what Ten Hag has to balance. And I think he understands that. And now going into double game weeks, week in, week out, I do believe that we're going to see a bit more changing. We're going to see a bit more of what you could say fringe players. The fringe players, the players that we're calling fringe players now are actually the ones that were in the first team last season. So that says a lot. Let's see where their mindset's at when they come in, because we've got Sociedad on Thursday after Arsenal, obviously on Sunday. Strong team expected against Arsenal, I think. And then I think we'll see a completely different team against Sociedad. I think we will see the likes of Maguire, Lindelof, Danny van der Beek. I think we'll see I think we could even see Anthony get game time. Could see Casemiro get a bit more game time. Fred, players like this, we have a lot of players to come in and actually, take that chance that I was saying that Ten Hag is going to give them. It's like if they play well on Thursday, then they're putting their names forward under Ten Hag. And I think that's the message he wants to put across. That's how I'm reading it as a fan. He wants to put that message across from what I can see as like, look, if you take your chance and you give everything like everyone else is in the bigger games, the Europa League is big. It is massive for us. It's not going to be an easy Premier League this season. And Ten Hag is going to want every single player on point. And if we manage to get ourselves into that top 4 position, and it looks like that is a stable way for us to get back into the Champions League, then we will be playing a strong team all the way through. Obviously, the league is the bread and butter, but I do believe that the longer we stay in the Europa League, the more important it comes. And there is a fine balancing act in that because the fans are craving a trophy as well. It's 5 years without now. So you got to look at that as well. And he has a lot to do and he has a lot to deal with. And I think the fact that he's gone back to basics on the pitch has helped him. He's not overcomplicated things. He's made it clear to everyone because they're all working, like I said, in the same direction. So I'm happy with how things are. I would have liked to have lived a little bit more comfortably with a second goal last night. I will say that. But ultimately, it does look like we've got a message from Ten Hag. It looks like it's going across to all of the players. And it looks like we've actually got a system in place at the moment where, you know what? I can see it actually working. I can see what he's trying to do. And the players look like they see what he can do. Just going to read through a few of your messages here, actually, guys. At last, we have a proper coach, says Shane. Varane for captain. Totally agree with that. A super chat in here from Ganius Marius says, if Ten Hag is basing the picks based off form, why are the club favourites Rashford and McTominay still starting? Well, Rashford, first half was decent last night, so you could say that. McTominay's played all right the last 2 games. You can say that. I'm McTominay's biggest critic, but he has played well the last 2 games. You can't deny that. He's been very good in the air. He's been strong. He's been good defensively. And I can't really complain. We've had 2 wins. All you got to look at here is it's like, I understand the message and I understand the players that he's picking, but maybe Ten Hag's looking at that as them 2 players work better in this team for these games. And we'll see against Arsenal if it changes. He's already said he's going to pick the right team each week for each opponent. McTominay has been okay by his standards. I would still prefer Casemiro. 100% I would prefer Casemiro. But let's not forget, this is the first time we've won 3 games in a row since last year. And this is the team that's done it. The same team. He's not changed it for 3 games. And this team has won 3 in a row. Behind Arsenal, that's the longest winning run for any team this season so far. It sort of answers itself a little bit. If you're winning, you're winning. No one's complaining. But I think the balancing that comes now. I think you're going to start seeing them changes. And I don't think you're going to see McTominay play week in, week out. Once Casemiro gets settled in, I cannot see him dropping out of the team. And I think that's why McTominay started to play well. In fairness to him, he's seen the opposition. He knows that when Casemiro gets in, he's not going to be able to get back in the team. So his game is upped. Concentration levels have gone up. It's weird, isn't it? When you bring in a bit of competition for a place, knowing that you've been that settled in there. And this has been the problem through the years. McTominay just got comfortable knowing he was going to be picked every single week. And his performances have been garbage. Rashford, I understand that shout. There's a different element to a Rashford one. There is an argument as to why Sancho keeps coming off before Rashford, because Sancho was better than Rashford last night. There's an argument as to why Rashford starts ahead of the likes of Elanga and Cristiano Ronaldo when either one is playing. And I do see that. I also understood why Rashford stayed on the pitch last night, because he's faster than Jadon Sancho. And I thought Ten Hag was looking maybe on the break. He came in with Fred to solidify the midfield and give us more bodies and take control of the game towards the back end, because Leicester were getting momentum. And then, obviously, he kept Rashford on as that one outlet where you're thinking, if we do get a chance, Rashford can come through and burn that Leicester defence for pace. And I think that's where he was going with it. I do understand where you're coming from with that one, though. I think if Martial's fit, he probably comes in, and then we've got a decision to make because now Anthony's here, one of his players. I think it will be. And I did a video on United Stand the other day debating Rashford and Sancho who comes out because I think it will be between them two. I think if Anthony plays, I think you're going to have Martial and Ronaldo in the middle. And then you're going to be looking at Rashford and Sancho. I think on the left, I just cannot see Sancho competing with Anthony on the right. Sancho's been one of our best forward players so far this season. He's our leading goal scorer. So there's something in that. Obviously, it's working. And like he doesn't like to change a winning side. Does Anthony come in at all straight away? Does Ten Hag persist? Like, if we keep winning, is he going to change it? That's the question. I think it's a question that needs to be brought up in the press conference because I think it's relevant to what's going on right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That comes into the mindset of all the fans. It's like, well, as long as we're winning, we're okay with it. We can see players performing, and like I said, then as long as McTominay is playing well, and it's hard to drop him, and he has played well. You can't deny him that he has played well. So keep his place in the team. If it drops off, Casemiro comes in. I can understand that logic. I would put Casemiro in still. I just know what the player is and I know what he brings to us. And there are going to be times when we can't hang on for 60, 70 minutes with one goal. We're going to need a little bit more. Casemiro brings us that. And I think he would defend that better in terms of the games when, like the City games, the Liverpools, when they come around again at Anfield, Arsenal this weekend. The teams are a little bit better. I think Casemiro works better with, and I think that's when Ten Hag will start to understand it with McTominay and his limitations because he has got them. He has. No matter what everyone says about McTominay, all the people and managers before that have loved him, and he has played well the last 3 games, I would say. He has got limits, and I would say Casemiro would then just start to move in and solidify that role as his own because he is world class in that position. So I'm happy for Scott McTominay. I'm happy for him holding that position down, but Casemiro will take it eventually. I'm pretty confident about that. I am because he is a different level player. So I think that's where it's going to go. Honestly, looking at what Ten Hag said in terms of how he's going to pick the teams per game from the press conference, how the team's playing as a whole together. I think Casemiro fits into that. I think Anthony will fit into that because he already knows the system. And then we go on from there. And that's how it's going to be going forward. Quite clear in the press conference again. Straight to the point. Love it. Short and sweet. As long as the results on the pitch match, then what can we have to complain about? Guys, that pretty much covers what Ten Hag's covered there in the press conference. Obviously, Arsenal next. Big weekend ahead for United. Obviously, the road trip will be up. We'll be doing fan vlogs outside afterwards. So come over and say hello before or after the game. We're in our usual spot. Loads going on the watch along with Mark, as always. An interesting one when it comes to Arsenal. But we know what the rivalry is with Arsenal. We know what this game means to us. And hopefully the players will stand up like they have done the last 3 games and give us more, because a win this weekend definitely changes the outlook for everyone of United. 4 wins in a row and probably back into the top 4, very close to it this weekend it could be. Then the whole picture changes for United's season. Guys, that's it though. Cheers for watching and tuning into the press conference reaction. I will see you over the weekend as always. Cheers for all the support over the last few days as well with everything that I was doing and obviously on the United Stand. It's been brilliant. But like, share and subscribe to the United Stand as always. I'll see you this weekend for Arsenal.